Day 4 of research into the abyss. Everything seems to be going well, though we haven't yet ventured past the Sulphurous Sea itself. I will be the first to go down and meet all the wonderful creatures down there. My friend is getting everything ready. Suit is prepared, suit equipped, and permission has been given to begin the dive. Eager to find out what's waiting for us down there, we jump into the depths. Heading down to the first layer of the abyss, the Sulphuric Depths. Mostly composed of sulphurous shale, this layer has plenty of life, but only a few dangers. Only one species of plant grows in this layer, it being the sulphurous vine. These vines are special due to their ability to survive in different acidity waters. They also give out a bioluminescent green light, presumably as a result of their natural mechanisms. Or maybe it's just there to deter predators, who knows. These vines also seem to be able to grow downwards indefinitely, for there is no recorded maximum length for them. Another organism can be found growing on the sulphurous shale, but this one isn't a plant. Most of the ground here is covered by either sulfur tentacle, sulfur tube, or pyrocoral. These corals have a similar green light coming from them, though the sulfur tentacle coral can also appear in bluish and purplish tones. These corals could be using these lights as a means of communication to other organisms, or, more likely, to lure in small fish and plankton so that the coral can have a meal. These corals can grow up to 6 feet in height, or just shy of 183 centimeters. On my journey down, I stumbled upon some steam geysers. I couldn't get too close, I didn't want to compromise my suit's integrity, but I could see that they were spewing hot steam filled with toxic materials upwards. I had to watch my step heading down. Continuing to go down, I saw something bob up and down below me. It was in fact a cannonball jellyfish. These jellyfish, like most other things we've seen so far, emit light. According to their bestiary entry, they help keep the abyss clean. They suck in acids through their stingers, and can store the acid for self-defense. They get their name from their shape, sure, but also their post-mortem behavior. Once killed, cannonball jellyfish are somehow able to lunge at an alive organism, most likely the predator that killed them, and explode. Due to this, they have no known natural predators. Baby cannonball jellyfish can also be found here. The baby variants do not pop and down like their elders. Instead, they just stay incredibly still in the water. Just like when they grow up, upon death they will explode. However, the babies don't seem to aggressively seek out anything. Their bestiary entry tells us that humans have hunted these for hundreds of years to use as cannonballs or bombs. Miraculously, they haven't gone extinct yet, even when being hunted by an incredibly powerful hunter, such as the human. Continuing our streak with jellyfishes, a box jellyfish swims into view. They can be found in many oceans, including this one. The bestiary even calls them persistent pests, due to how easily they exist in most large bodies of water. This one seemed to be incredibly aggressive and wouldn't stop trying to sting me. Their venom is infamously painful, and could even be lethal. So I will leave it alone before I start regretting coming here. Here are all the sizes of all the different jellyfishes we've found. The length is not much. As a researcher, I've seen longer jellyfish in the wild. But what makes these jellyfishes very special is their width. The cannonball jellyfish can grow up to 5 feet or 152 centimeters in diameter, and the box jellyfish to around 4 feet or 122 centimeters. After looking around for some time, I found something a lot bigger than the cannonball jellyfish. Or at least longer. It was a moray eel. Moray eels have 2 sets of jaws. They use the first set to catch prey and the second set to pull the prey down into their gullet. Their eyes also light up in the dark waters, revealing their location to us. Being eels, they are long. 16 feet or almost 5 meters long, in fact. These are easily the largest eels I've seen in my career. I can't believe such giants live down here. Leaving the eel be, I continued down, and before getting to the next layer of the abyss, I found a curious rock. It seemed to be located in a location where it really shouldn't be able to stay. I went closer to it trying to examine it, and suddenly it jumped up. It was a slab crab disguising itself as a rock. These massive crabs are just under 4 feet tall, or 122 centimeters, which is somehow not surprising to me. Their bestiary entry tells us that even though the crab shell is as tough as rock, it stays in the calmest zone of the abyss, for it cannot stand the acidic waters above, nor the predators down below. which I'm sure we'll get to see during this trip. Making our way deeper down, we find the environment changes as we approach the next zone, the Murky Waters. Here, the primary blocks change from sulphur shale into abyss gravel, while pockets of both scoria ore, a hot-to-the-touch ore that is difficult to break, and planty mush can be found. While planty mush is just an environment for viper vines to grow on, scoria ore constantly drops hot lava particles downwards, which could seriously hurt anything that gets hit by them. Another plant growing in this layer is abyss kelp. These plants can be found in various shapes and sizes, anywhere between 2 and 10 feet or 60 to 300 centimeters long. Their flowers glow in an orange light. My observation of these plants is cut short, however, for multiple moving organisms enter my view. The toxic minnows and viperfish were swimming together. Let's focus on the minnow first. I was able to get very close to it because they are completely harmless to humans, as long as we don't touch them. These herbivores gather nutrients from plants to create toxins inside their bodies. Upon death, these toxins are released into the water around it. Their bestiary tells us they have no predators due to this, and contribute nothing to the environment. Like most other prey fish, the viperfish is a filter feeder. It uses its wide mouth to filter any animal or plant particles from the water for its consumption. Their only means of defense against predators is mimicry. With their wide mouths, they can try to mimic the appearance of gulper eels, another species that lives down here, that is way more dangerous. Both of these fish are around 10 feet or 3 meters long, and have some parts that glow in the dark. After navigating down the increasingly dangerous environment, I found an absolutely beautiful creature. It is the luminous corvina. Luminal, a blue glowing material, grows on its fins, making it shine in the dark. This fish lives in a very strange but harmonious relationship with everything around it. As a possible prey fish, it has found a unique way of surviving. When it senses a possible predator near it, the luminous corvina lets out a high-pitched pulse to signal to the predator where another possible prey would be. This way the predators have a reason to let this fish live, for it guides the predator to its prey. Making my way through the viper vines and rough terrain, I found our next species. One of the weirdest fish to ever exist, the laserfish can sense its surroundings using echolocation. It has to use echolocation because it is completely blind due to the bacteria growing on its head. These bacteria have a symbiotic relationship with the fish because they are its best defense. The bacteria can release laser blasts to protect the fish or help it catch prey. This is where the laserfish gets its name from. This one probably got scared of my presence because it tried to hide in a hole in the wall. Luckily for it, I'm not a predator waiting to eat it. Leaving that poor fish alone, I go past many of the fish we've seen before and almost collide with a cuttlefish. Its camouflage is definitely working. The only thing I can truly make out of it is its small glowing eye, which just looks like some dust particle when it's floating alone in the water. The bestiary tells us they're incredibly hostile once they spot anything near them. They didn't seem to react to me though, thanks to my suit. If we look at the sizes of these three last fish, we find they are smaller than most other creatures here, being only around 7 to 8 feet long at max. That's around 210 to 240 centimeters. But now we are starting to get to the actual giants that live down here, like the oarfish, which is 92 feet or 28 meters long. I can't even fit it in a realistic chart to visualize the length. The bestiary tells us that these fish are known for laying thousands or even millions of eggs in astonishingly quick gestation cycles. These eggs are a source of food for many creatures down here, where there's barely any food. The oarfish burrows through the ground and swims elegantly in the water, trying to circle its prey. Making our way down to the third layer of the abyss. Wait, that's a mirage jelly! These are the largest jellyfish in the abyss, being around 20 feet or 6 meters long, and 8 feet or 2.4 meters wide. Just to put that number into perspective, that's a jellyfish that is in every way bigger than you, or me. Another very interesting thing is that the mirage jelly is able to create after images of itself. The bestiary says that they can do this by using the light refracted from luminal and warmed water from scoria ore. They also seem to be able to pass through solid tiles. But I don't know if what I'm seeing is real or just another trick played by the mirage jelly. I see something huge beneath me. but before we get into it, let's talk a bit about this environment. Layer 3, the thermal vents, is made of pyromantle and molten pyromantle blocks. These blocks are tougher than any other block we've seen so far, other than maybe scoria ore. The ground glows in an orange light thanks to the Fovea mare haulm and spider coral growing on it. Now, onto the giant creature I saw below, the second longest creature in the abyss, the gulper eel. Standing, or swimming, at 112 feet or 34 meters long, this massive eel needs no introduction. This Goliath is one of the most aggressive enemies in the entire abyss. They traverse the abyssal waters with ease, slowly closing the gap between themselves and their prey. Usually, the prey has no idea it's being targeted by the gulper eel, and once the prey realizes, it's way too late. The gulper eel's mouth stretches around the prey, and they're swallowed whole. Luckily for this guy right here, the devilfish isn't on the gulper eel's menu. These fish have a hard mask that protects them from damage, though this mask can break if it takes enough hits. These masks come in two different types, both have horns on them, which is where the devilfish gets its name from. I don't know why they have multiple different masks. Maybe it's a gender difference, maybe it's just random. The Biz theory also tells us that the devilfish are toxin cleaners, similar to the cannonball jellyfish from higher layers. They use the toxins to empower themselves, and you'll see this if you ever break their mask. After a while of admiring the devilfish and gulper eel, an oarfish shows up. This seemed kind of hilarious, until I realized they take up quite a lot of space in the crammed spaces of the Biz, so I had to leave them before I get trapped. Making my way down, I admire the beauty of the lava dropping from scoria ore blocks. It looks just mesmerizing. Then, the thermal vents release their steam clouds to make for a great entrance for the giant squid. Gently swimming towards me, the giant squid makes itself known with its pure size and beautiful bioluminescent lights on its head. Otherwise completely dark, the blue lights and yellow eyes can be seen even in the dark. The best theory also tells us that the biggest danger to these squids is actually themselves, because they're cannibals. They eat their own kind, and that's why the main predator of the giant squid is the giant squid. Moving down and past the mirage jellies, devilfish, and viperfish, I found a peaceful idolist. Once a human, they have transformed themselves to be more worm-like in order to survive down here. They're completely harmless if you don't disturb them, so let's keep moving. I would feel bad examining them like an animal, because I know they're more aware than they seem. Near another idolist, I find the most dangerous creature in this layer of the abyss. And a chaotic puffer. First looking at the less interesting but still cool chaotic puffer, while most other pufferfish species use venom to deter predators, according to their best theory, the chaotic puffer sucks in traces of scoria ore from the water and heats up the water inside them. If you touch them, it's like touching scoria ore itself, hotter than hot. Upon death, the heat is also released from the puffer, which causes an explosion that severely damages everything around it. Now moving on to the star of the show, the colossal squid is quite patiently waiting for its turn while I try to not anger the gulper eel swimming around me. These squids are massive, and the gulper eel activated my suit's automatic defenses, aggroing the colossal squid. I have no choice but to leave the abyss and try again. For when a colossal squid aggroes onto you, it will chase you to the ends of the earth. An interesting trait about the colossal squid is that they used to be herbivores. They ate specific plants to grow into massive sizes. When they reached a certain size, they started eating meat. No one knows why or how this happened. I find myself back at the thermal vents, making my way deeper down to the last layer of the abyss, the void. This is a completely empty drop to the bottom in darkness, only interrupted by small extrusions from the walls, which are covered in shiny luminol. Tenebrae remnant can be found growing on the voidstone, with blue bulb trees as company. This truly feels like a void of nothingness. Still, I make my way down the increasingly higher pressure waters. I can feel the pressure. My suit isn't designed for being this deep down for too long. Going down the side of the void, I discovered the strongest creature in the abyss, the Reaper Shark. It was perfectly still and growling. I didn't know how close I was allowed to get to this marvelous beast before it turns aggressive, but I was curious. I got closer to its dorsal fin. Ignore the abyssal isopod, just a failed experiment of mine. When suddenly it started to move, but it wasn't aggressive. It kept growling with its deep and menacing voice. Their bestiary tells us that the Reaper Shark can toss around colossal squids and break open heads of eidolon worms. That's how strong it is. While their strength is obviously the most impressive thing about them, they are also incredibly good at camouflaging into the voidstone walls. Their teeth are very sought after by poachers. Many have come down here to try and get some in order to sell them and become rich, but only a few have succeeded. These sharks are truly terrifyingly powerful. Making our way down the rough wall, we find the longest creature in the abyss. Measuring in at just around 180 feet or around 55 meters long, the eidolon worm appears. It is joined by a gulper eel, which just shows the difference between the longest and second longest creatures down here. If you were to provoke an eidolon worm, it will let out a scream and decimate you with its powers. This is why I'd rather keep it peaceful. According to its bestiary, they're relatives of the auric dragons, who hid away as far as possible from other beings. Their bodies adapted to living down here and are now a magical part of the ecosystem. Traveling a little bit more, I find a bobbit worm on the side of the wall. These worms use the dark void as a hunting ground, latching onto and dragging down anything it could use as a quick meal. These worms can stretch up to 90 feet or 27 meters in order to catch their prey. Other than that, they just kind of stay still, not doing anything. While I'm looking for the final creature that calls this place its home, I'd like to just say one thing. Though the abyss might seem intimidating and scary, it really isn't. It's a flourishing ecosystem full of beautiful life that's glowing all sorts of colors. Even then, I don't recommend doing what I'm doing. I'm a trained professional who is down here to do research. Do not try to get this close to any of these creatures on your own. Finally, I found what I'm looking for. A beautiful bloatfish. It is completely harmless to us, as it will never attack humans. The unique behavior of this fish is that upon taking damage, the bloatfish will, well, bloat. It can grow up to 3 times its size, so to around 33 feet or 10 meters in diameter. Bloatfish have a hide made of voidstone thanks to their glue-like skin. The bestiary also says this is the reason they've sunk down to the deepest waters of the abyss. They are also relatives to the sulflounder, a weak fish that lives in the sulphurous sea. Sadly, I must leave this place now, as my suit's integrity is starting to show some cracks. I go admire the beauty of the Reaper Shark one final time before teleporting back to the surface. It was incredibly fun to be on this mission with you all. Thank you for sticking with me until the very end. I must record some of my findings now onto our computers, and maybe I'll expand on them after you all leave. I hope you found this fun and maybe even learned something. For now though, peace. As I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, peace out, and don't forget to have fun.